perception that Chinese Canadian students that excel at a certain subject?
Well, you know what? There is a perception that Chinese Canadian students seem to be good in science subjects, science and computers and so on. I want to emphasize this is only a perception. Unfortunate that we have this perception because it's not fair to other Chinese Canadian students who are not good in science and math. And we have experience like this, you know. Even the teachers expect, you know, the Chinese Canadian student to be good in math, to be good in computer. So if the students are not so good in science or math, the teachers are surprised, or they say, oh, you know, how come you're not good at it? I think the negative impact of pushing students or encouraging them to go into the science and math is quite serious, you know, because often I have parents or come and tell me that after first year university, the son and daughter failed university, or didn't do well at school. So now the son and daughter can be very depressed and sometimes even suicidal. And because all their life, some young people, you know, the parents told them, oh, you're very good in math and science. The teacher also said, oh, you're so smart, you're good in math and science. And some of these young people say, oh my gosh, when I was in high school, I was getting 80%, 90%. And now I'm at university, I'm only getting 60%. And they get very depressed. They didn't have to fail to get depressed. Just the fact that, oh, now, you know, I'm not very good at math and science. And you know, I have a problem handling these engineering courses or university courses. And they become very depressed because their whole self-esteem has been tied into the marks, into the report card. And in first year university, they face the harsh reality.
So then why do Chinese Canadian students who go to study math and science, why do they choose to enter these professions afterwards?
I think there's a disproportionate number of Chinese Canadian students going to the math and science area, and later on pursuing professions in the math and science area. I think there are a number of reasons for that, and I think I can name three for you. And one of them is of historical reason. This has to go back to the Anti-Chinese Act in the state, and also the Chinese Exclusion Act in Canada between 1920 to 1940. And I just would like to share with you that my grandfather was here too during that time. And during that time, Chinese people were not allowed to own land, vote, or have any business. The only business they could open for Chinese people were either the laundromat or Chinese restaurant. And it's not until after 1947, after Second World War, that the law in Canada had changed, and also the law in the state had changed, and the Chinese Exclusion Act was repealed, so Chinese people could actually vote and start owning business. But when you open your own business, you could still be discriminated, and people could not come to you. So, Chinese parents are very smart and also very practical. So they knew that they were discriminated. So, so they would encourage the children to study science so that they could become teachers, lawyers, and doctors. If you are sick, you're not going to say, well, you're Chinese. No, I don't want to go to a Chinese doctor, right?
There's like less chance of being discriminated in those professions.
Well, you can still be discriminated in the profession, but at least you can make a living. And then the second reason is also the tradition and the culture. And I remember when I was growing up in Hong Kong in the 60s and 70s, that's when technology first started, the computer, the electronic technology and so on. So at the time, everybody felt that if you are good in math and science, you could get a job in those factories, working as a supervisor, supervising people, putting together the radio, putting together the TV and so on and so forth. And I remember when I was a student in Hong Kong, everybody was trying to get into the science stream of study. And I thought, oh, no, I'm not a very good science student, so I stay in the art. And, people say to me, well, if you're in art, you will not be able to find a good job. But then a lot of Chinese parents, they don't realize that if you study art and English and communication, actually you can find very good jobs. The top management people, actually, most of them, they hold degrees either in fine art or communication. Some of those are fine art degree. Of course, some lawyers too, because lawyers are very good in language. Now, the third reason for Chinese Canadian students, studying science and math is because of language barrier. Like as I mentioned before, if you are in science, if you're in math, math is math. Math is a universal language. So for Chinese students or Asian students, it's easier for them to pick up math when they first come to this country. Whereas it's more difficult, if you're not good in English, how can you study English literature? How can you study fine art? How can you study communication? How can you stand in front of people and do presentation? Find out what you're passionate about. Do and work what you're passionate about. I am passionate about education. That's why I'm still doing education, right? And so young people, you need to find the work and study what you really love to. I know that your parents tell you, okay, you have to study science, you have to study math. Well, if this is what you love, study it. But if this is what you don't love as much, then explore other options. Find something that you really love. But you need to be passionate and you need to work hard. And you will be successful. Because people will see through it and you will do your best.
Thanks very much. You're welcome.